Hey, it's Leisha. Before we dive into our podcast episode today about the type of crime some businesses in Regina and Saskatoon are dealing with, we have an update from Saskatoon. Police in that city will be getting close to $2 million from the provincial government's Safer Communities and Neighbourhoods initiative. The money will be used to recruit 24 more frontline police officers. This is what Saskatoon Mayor Cynthia Block had to say about it.
There are upstream reasons that we need this type of policing, whether it's mental health and addiction. In Saskatoon right now, some 40% or more of the calls we do are for social behavior.
Meanwhile, the official opposition NDP is sounding the alarm over how much violent crime takes place in Saskatoon. The party says, according to police data, 13 incidents a day. Today, we're focusing on a crime that some may see as minor, but as you'll hear, it has a huge impact on individual business owners and the wider community. It's an unnerving scene to walk into. In late August, a rock was thrown through the window of the lingerie shop on Albert Street in South Regina in the middle of the day. Actually, there were a few rocks.
We have seen some videos, possibly this person is carrying them in his backpack. They are larger rocks, and they are being thrown at the window, causing the glass to shatter, and shatter throughout the store so much, even knocking down mannequins, so using a lot of force.
Linda boarded up the broken windows, which doesn't look great. It kind of just screams a crime was committed here. But get this, nothing was taken. Insurance covered most of the damage, but it still cost Linda about $4,000 to replace the window. She's also installed more cameras and reported it to the police.
Yeah, I do think that they could be surveilling the area a lot more often, and just on a personal side, it would be nice if they literally did come in and just see what's happening for themselves. And it's devastating for me. It's expensive. That takes a lot of bras to sell to make up that kind of money. So, and it's just uncomfortable. So, more cameras, sure, but it's a problem.
Further north along Albert Street is the Excalibur Cat Cafe. This is a coffee shop with cats that you can play with and maybe adopt. The business was hit in the early hours of October 9th. Shards of glass everywhere, and the owner, Chelsea Legendre, left to pick up the pieces.
You know, we're not too sure what exactly happened or who it was, but it's disheartening, it's frustrating, it's an inconvenience.
The cats didn't get out, and nothing was stolen, but the owners didn't have insurance. Luckily, someone stepped in to donate the money to cover the costs of repairs. As for how to prevent something like this from happening again, Chelsea isn't sure.
No, I don't know if there's anything the city really can do for us. I mean, there's people walking the streets at night that are in unfortunate situations, that need places to go, and that's just the reality of life right now, and I feel for them, and I don't know if there's anything really that they can do for us as small businesses. It's just an unfortunate reality that we have to face.
Windows are being smashed in Saskatoon as well. In late October, the restaurant Sulu's window on 2nd Avenue was hit. Nothing was taken. The shop, a place for treats and coffee near the river in Saskatoon, had its window smashed in late November. And the Perfect Cup Cafe on 2nd Avenue had its window broken. There aren't that many cat cafes, but yes, the sole one in each city has been hit by vandals. Sydney Sylvester is the owner. Her Saskatoon business has been hit more than once.
This time, it was middle of the daytime. It was easily visible outside, and a gentleman just came by and decided to donkey kick the window with his foot, and he just put a big hole in it and kept walking. So it was smashed, and then it was replaced. And then it was smashed again, and now it's been boarded up for an entire year.
Sydney says because of the vandalism, they're moving their business to a different part of downtown, right across from the mall, where she hopes it will be safer. There will be more people, and her business will be more visible, so she hopes they won't be such an easy target. For a lot of Saskatoon businesses who are hit by vandalism like this, the first call is to the police. Then they call Shauna Nelson. She's the executive director of the Downtown Saskatoon Business Improvement District. One morning in December, she was driving through downtown. The area spans about 18 city blocks. Shauna counted 14 boarded up windows and graffiti. Both cost businesses a lot of money.
There is certain hot spots where we know that this happens, but then, just the other day we had a business that had a broken window in the Rivers Landing area as well. So there has been repeat offenders on a particular business or businesses as well. So there's no rhyme or reason. We know there's a few. It's a small group of a few that are doing a huge amount of impact on our downtown when it comes to the broken window. Graffiti is a huge thing as well. I mean, the hardship is not just the inconvenience, it's also the financial hardships that our businesses are facing when these things happen to them, as well as the operational, so they have to close for the day, clean it up. There may have been things that have been stolen, having to deal with paperwork to, report it and whatnot. And then there's the emotional, impact that it has not only on them, but also their employees as well as their customers.
Tell me more about that. Do people get emotional when they talk about the impact it's had on their business?
Oh, I have. I've actually gotten the call late at night or in the morning, and I drive by. I feel like sometimes I am the counselor as well, sitting down with them, helping them through it, figure out, navigating who do we call to come in and help them clean the mess, boarding it up. My clean team has been there, help them board up windows. And then it's just after that, what we do also at the Downtown Saskatoon bid is provide a grant towards helping with the costs that's involved. It's anywhere, the cost to replace a window, depending on the size, is anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. And of course, they may have insurance, but, using the deductible and then it happening again next year, what happens? Premiums go up.
And is this a growing issue? I know you've only been in the job a year, and vandalism downtown has always, kind of been a thing. But how would you characterize just how often we're seeing it now?
Well, if I could, a little bit of the stats on graffiti, the clean team year to date have removed 10,000 graffiti/tags on buildings, benches, posts, Loris disposal bins throughout the city, and they're just scratching at the surface. And when you look at the perception that gives you when you're walking into our city as a visitor. You see graffiti, you see broken window. It gives you a perception that it's unsafe, when really the stats show that it's not really crime. It's just, it feels like it's unsafe. So that's why it's really important for our team, the clean team, to be down there to remove the graffiti. Research has shown that if you get rid of graffiti or broken window and address it very quickly, it will deter them from doing it again. So it's called the broken window syndrome, or this signal crime sort of thing, where if you see a broken window, you think the perception is that it's unsafe. Or if you see a broken window, you break another broken window. You see graffiti on a building, oh, it's safe to put more graffiti on the window or on the building. So we do want to address it very quickly. And so we're out there, we're trying our best. Like I said, 10,000 tags so far on buildings and benches and you name it out there that we're trying to get rid of.
And the window smashing, how often is a theft taking place?
That's a good question, and I'm not going by probably stats. I'm going by hearsay and just with my businesses. I'd say 50% of what's happening is just people are not in a right state of mind and just breaking a window. We've seen people just kick a window in. We see it on video. We actually have, a lot of our businesses have it on camera, and we see just a good old kick a window in for no reason because they're just not in the right state of mind. There is the kick the window in, try to grab what's on display. So we've seen that as well.
Shauna mentioned the downtown's clean team. Their job is to keep downtown tidy, removing garbage from sidewalks and alleys, and sweeping up that broken glass. Now, why would someone be compelled to commit this kind of crime in the first place? And how do you prevent it? Amin Asfari is the Law Foundation of Saskatchewan Chair in Police Studies. His office is in the Justice Studies Department at the University of Regina.
Well, oftentimes in the case of younger offenders, there are several dynamics at play. They could be just bored, hanging out together, and sort of daring one another to do this. That would be the sort of the peer dynamics, the peer pressure. It's basically a low-risk, high-impact act, right? So think about college kids, high school kids hanging out together and being dared by one another to do something that within the group signifies their willingness to be a member of the group, right? And they do this and they think they can get away with it because it's oftentimes done after hours when business owners aren't there. There's potentially no cameras. The lighting is bad. There's something in criminology called CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. But that's one way to address this kind of seemingly random criminal behavior. Another sort of underlying cause, two that are actually tied to one another, substance abuse and mental health. Think about where these things occur. Oftentimes you'll have a large unhoused population, which tends to suffer from both substance abuse issues and mental health issues. That combination tends to make for a greater opportunity to engage in this kind of behavior. Oftentimes it's not intended to target a particular business. It could be a feeling of distress or just someone that's not in their right mind, if you would, their faculties.
Knowing how many people are struggling in our communities here in Saskatchewan, that helps me make sense of what we're seeing, because we know that a lot of people are struggling. We see a lot more visible homelessness, a lot of people struggling with their mental health, and substance use disorders are a concern. Where do you think police and community leaders should rank this type of crime in terms of their priorities? Like, I just think of how police in cities are dealing with a lot, and a broken window. What's the best approach to dealing with something like that?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned broken window. I mean, there's an entire genre of criminological theorizing that's in fact called broken windows theory. It was popularized in the U.S. in places like New York and other larger cities, and it was also rather controversial because the policing that followed was often questioned for racial profiling. Broadly speaking, broken windows theory says that if a window is broken in a particular neighborhood and is left unattended, that signals to other groups that this kind of behavior is not high priority, as you suggest, and it sort of invites more of the same. And so one of the recommendations with respect to policing, as you're saying, is that police work in tandem with business owners locally. So this can be done through sort of coordinated patrols where they coordinate closing hours, for example, with the business owners, and there's a visible presence of police there. That after-hours presence in downtown core areas signals to potential perpetrators that the place is not abandoned. It's not empty. And this is something that I've seen personally, having been here for about a year now, that is deeply problematic about the downtown in Regina. That is to say, and I know there have been efforts to address this. I think the former chief and the current chief are trying to do this, where they have patrols in certain areas. That is really one recommendation, is that there's communication between businesses and police. Businesses can also engage in what I mentioned earlier, this CPTED, which is to have to construct an environment which makes it more difficult for offenders to gain access to the target. This is better lighting. This is cameras, and again, cutting away shrubs and things that may hide or conceal certain areas, make them less visible to cameras that already exist, for example, where people can hide and engage in this kind of behavior.
What do you think is the takeaway for listeners, whether they're just an individual who lives in one of our communities and drives by a business and sees that broken window, or sees a number of businesses with their windows boarded up because they've been targeted, or maybe it's a listener who is a business owner and they've had to repair a broken window more than once. Like, overall, what do you think is an important takeaway for people who are listening and who are trying to make sense of all of this, and they also want to just live in a place that feels safe?
I think the takeaway is that this kind of behavior drops significantly when these areas, downtowns, feel busier. They feel like they're supported by their local law enforcement or other organizations that address these kinds of issues, that they're being watched, and that when underlying issues are addressed. And this is where I think it's important for people to take on sort of an activist orientation and to engage with law enforcement and other municipal entities to get at the root of the root cause of the problem. You know, if in fact we suggest that substance abuse, mental health issues are the driving factors, then merely ticketing people or running them through a gauntlet, that is to say, the criminal legal system, doesn't really address the issue. This is where nonprofit organizations can also come into play, where restorative justice practices for those that are apprehended are the sort of the preferred method or preferred approach of dealing with this kind of issue, because restorative justice seeks to make the individual victim whole again. And that happens through a process whereby the victim and the offender or offenders make contact. The offender recognizes the harm that's been done and makes the victim whole through some sort of restoration, whether that's financial or otherwise. Running them through the system, like fining them, giving them tickets, or incapacitating them for a brief period of time, doesn't address the issues that we're dealing with. And in the case of substance abuse and mental health, if they can't do that themselves, then they could certainly be partnered with the nonprofit organizations here that might assist them.
Knowing now that you've only been in Regina a year, any other observations? I don't know if you've had a chance to come to Saskatoon, but just sort of any specific observations about where you're living now?
Well, you're putting me in an interesting position here. I will say that my initial reaction to Regina is that the downtown core is really underdeveloped, and I don't say in terms of infrastructure. I mean in terms of business opportunities, that might compel people into that area beyond just the working hours. Saskatoon has seemingly done a significantly better job. It just looks more appealing. It looks nicer. I personally feel much safer there. I feel invited, has an inviting downtown, whereas Regina, not so much.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would agree with you, and yet Saskatoon is still dealing with similar issues. Like, we've got several businesses who have had broken windows. Any thoughts on that?
It's simply making something inviting doesn't suggest that this kind of behavior stops, right? So, as I say, there are mitigating circumstances and there are aggravating circumstances. I don't know what the homelessness population is there. I don't know. In both instances, you have universities, you have high schools in close proximity. So if the underlying issue is youth, young people, then we deal with it in a particular way. If the underlying issues, as we suggest, substance abuse, mental health, etc., then those agencies, whether that we're talking about local law enforcement or we're talking about local nonprofits, they really need to come together with business owners to develop a plan. This has to be something that's targeted. This has to be something that's purposeful.
Yeah. You've given me a lot to think about, Amin. Thank you. That's it for this episode. Thanks this week to Aishwarya Dutta, Chris Edwards, and Liam O'Connor. I'm Alicia Gravinsky. Talk to you again on Friday when we're back with analysis on provincial politics.